Welcome back to WhoDooTV. I'm Hooser.
And I'm Jared.
Today we are doing X-O Manowar number 8. It is the second book of the Emperor arc. This is written by Kindt, art by Crain, with a little bit of Renato Guedes in there. We're continuing this train of X-O Manowar till it keeps on going.
So we've read this book, and we hope you have too, because we're going to be getting into some spoilers here. If you haven't, you can click pause, read it, and come back to us when you're done.
When you first open this book, you get to see a little bit of Clayton Crain's palette is definitely different from what Diego Rodriguez's was for the first 6 issues. It's a lot darker. It's definitely a different element, different palette than what we've seen before. And then we also get some really great looking pages by Renato Guedes, his painted art that he does in a couple different scenes in this book.
This book starts off with Aric going from teammate to teammate, doing what he says is possibly saying goodbye, because they're going to go up against the palace. But it's a kind of a cool moment because we get to know a little bit more about Cat, about Wynn, and about Ironside. I mean, for 2 of these characters, we haven't heard a whole lot from them yet. They just have been fighting alongside Aric this entire time.
The interesting meeting that he has is with Bruto. And we get to see some of the backstory of him and see his little Judas behaviors that have been going on with Bruto and the Emperor. And ultimately how he is kind of playing 2 sides.
Yeah, we start to learn that Bruto has been playing Aric this entire time. And he's feeding Aric some information saying like the front gate has a design flaw in it. But we find out once they lay siege that that's not the case. It's pretty well fortified.
He lets the Emperor know a little bit about Aric's armor, and they create this force field that doesn't allow tech in this realm of where the Emperor is. And so we get to see a really cool scene of Aric taking off the armor too, and doing his business hand to hand too, because this guy thought Aric is only his armor.
Right, and he was wrong. He pretty much got destroyed. He got his neck broken, and Aric in his skivvies sat in the throne.
Right. We get to see a lot in this book. We see Aric in the skivvies. We get to see him in his full armor, helmet and all. Kind of a abrupt change when that helmet came on. But we do get to see him in complete glory of Aric from, like I say, from skivvies to full armor.
After Aric takes the throne, he takes a trip over to Shone to talk with her a little bit. And she tells him a story about her father, how her father had this very identifiable helmet, went off to war, and she hadn't seen him in a long time until one day the army was walking through. She saw the helmet and got really excited, but found out that her father had been killed and a younger man is wearing that helmet. And she kind of talks about this in a way of how this relates to Aric, how Aric went off to war, and yeah, he's come back, but he's a completely different person and she doesn't want anything to do with him. It's kind of a sad moment, and it, kind of shows that Aric is still alone.
Her song she's singing about war is completely changed from the very first book. The very first word she says in this whole series is, "The war's justified." She was pro-war. And then I think it was in 7, she was totally against it. Or 6, she was totally against it. And then now she's really against it in this issue. So it's kind of weird how she has changed from 1 all the way through, and kind of we're not really told, we're not given enough into this to see it. Maybe she saw Aric changing and the armor, that whole thing that played out into the man she loved is totally different. I don't know, but it's weird how her song has totally changed.
Yeah, I mean, she's been having feelings about Aric and him donning the Shanhara armor and all of this, and it seems to be coming to a head right now. But I would agree, it seems she was pretty pro-war beforehand. I mean, the war changed a little bit, but it's still kind of on the side of the good folks, know, and now she's completely against it. She believes that Aric is just terrible for doing all this stuff, and I don't know. It is a little strange.
One thing in number 1, we do get to see some foreshadowing that happened there to now with Bruto. He was given to Aric as part of the team by the Azules, and so it's kind of set this up early enough to where you look back on it, it's like, yeah, of course he was a traitor. Look how they placed him there in the way they did, and him already being a traitor towards his Cadmium's people that he was as well.
I mean, yeah, it totally makes sense, because why would he turn on the people that originally he was caught by who let him live, like the Emperor pretty much let him live, and of course he's not going to change on them, and we should have seen that coming.
Well, I mean, he's just very unloyal all the way around when you look at the guy. I guess the only people he was loyal to were the wrong people. I mean, kind of interesting.
He's an interesting character, and I actually kind of like that part. I kind of like the part that he was a traitor the entire time. It did add a little bit of depth to the story. Because, throughout this book, this particular issue, it seemed pretty straightforward. It was point A to point B. Aric flies in, destroys the big monster, breaks through, goes straight to the Emperor, destroys the Emperor without too much of a battle. So it was very linear, very quick. But I think that including that Bruto part was really interesting.
In this, there was that abrupt change to where Aric was wearing the tiara piece flying through the sky, trying to get to the Emperor's palace. And then the next scene, we see him donning the whole mask. It was very, unceremoniously done. It just seemed like it happened really fast.
Yeah, I was a little bummed about that because throughout the series, he's been taking more and more of Shanhara on. And then all of a sudden, in a small panel that took up, a ninth of the page, we see him with his full armor on. That was a little disappointing. I mean, it's cool that he's all together now, but it's still kind of a bit of a bummer.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't this big thing of Shanhara speaking to him again and saying you need me, and you know, building up to this moment, and it just kind of happened.
Right. Just kind of anticlimactic.
A little bit. In the middle of this book, in some of the flashbacks, we see the art change to Renato Guedes. It's a little interesting because page by page we see these characters, but they're drawn by two different people. We have the Clayton Crain Bruto, and then we have the Renato Guedes Bruto. And the thing is they don't look totally alike. They actually look like two very different people.
Right. The Clayton Crain looks like a punk rocker.
Right. Where Renato Guedes looks like a mid-40s kind of greasy guy.
Right. Yeah, he looks like an old Sid Vicious. Yeah. Older age punk rocker.
Yeah. And it was really interesting and kind of jarring in a way. But you did get the spirit of the story. You understood the story. Yeah,
you weren't really lost in it because they do kind of show it as a different point of view aspect of when they show those two. One of them that was really interesting within the art that I thought was weird was the lack of depth with Cat's character when they were talking about Cat. It just, I don't know, the rendering of it just wasn't what I've seen in previous arcs. And it kind of, I don't know, it left me wanting more. It left a little bit on the table there.
Yeah, it seemed more like she was wearing a mask than actually having a face with expressions. Yeah, a little disappointing in that as well. But thankfully we have this whole story. We have 8 issues of this entire story. That's been awesome. And this just fits in, and yeah, it ends. I'm curious to see what happens now. Now that Aric is in the seat, he's killed the Emperor. We still have one more issue in this arc. So what's going to happen next,
Right. There is so much depth. I mean, we can say those few bad things, very few bad things. There's many good things about this book, and there is just so much depth there now. Aric is such a multi-level character now that I don't think you've seen before out of him. The different aspects with Shanhara, the different aspects with him and his being a soldier and a Vinzagoth, and his growth that he's had. It's very interesting to see that, and his more coming to terms and accepting. I mean, that's probably why he donned the mask the way he did so quickly, is because he's more at terms with it. There doesn't need to be this big argument. He's got so much on it. It's like he's accepted it which I think is actually pretty, in a way, if you think about it a little bit more, pretty good writing the way that's done, because it's not as big of a deal. He has 95% of it. He's kind of came in a lot more terms to it. And just the way that they're communicating back and forth, hey, armor, do this. Okay, done.
Yeah. And the fact that to defeat the Emperor, he took off the armor.
Right.
And it did kind of show that he is strong in himself, and it shows that he isn't leaning on his armor for everything. And it shows that even though he's donning the armor fully with the mask and the helmet and all, that it's not the only way he's going to fight anymore. That he knows that he still has power in himself as a human, which is pretty cool. I did actually really like that a lot.
Well, what do you think you're going to be giving this book today?
Yeah, so the story was pretty good. I was a little disappointed that we got kind of a one-panel wrap-up of what happened with the Mono Men. Some of the art was a little iffy in this. But overall, the story was good. I like the story itself. But I think I got to give this one a 3.5. I think this is probably one of the weaker issues of the series so far, of a series that's already strong. This
Right.
is a strong series, so it's still a good issue. But yeah, I'm gonna be a 3.5 on this one. What are you thinking about it?
Well, I'm thinking when you look at it, I'm breaking it down as far as like art wise, breaking down as far as writer wise. Writing, I would be giving this like a 3.75. I thought it was overall good story. There was some things that happened a little fast, like you said, the Mono Man really quick to have a full issue, and then boom, we're done in one issue. And then it was kind of naive at the end. Oh, we just gave them a rock that they wanted. I'm pretty sure we're gonna hear more about that rock that they wanted, that artifact they wanted down the road.
I hope so.
Just how quick it was, and it'd be like, oh, you stupid, duh. And then I'm giving the art, was like a 3.25 for me. It had some misses with, like I say, with the change of Bruto's character, the darkness of the colors. The palette is just so dark, and then the character of Cat, how that looked, it just really looked like there wasn't much expression there, wasn't a lot of depth there. And so with those things, I'm gonna be right there with you, 3.5. So 3.75 for writing, 3.25 for art, so 3.5. And so far, I mean, this is a great series, like you said. This was probably I don't want to say weaker of the books, but it was probably the one lacking compared to all of the other ones. And I'm very confident that it's going to turn around again next issue. It's just the way that Kindt writes his arcs to close really well too.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. A handful of reviews back of this story, I asked the question, when do you think we're going to see the full suit of Shanhara? And I think we both said 9 or 10, right around there.
Yep.
So I think we were definitely over.
I think it was over. I said 9.
Yes. Yeah.
I said 9. I said before the end of 9.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. I said it was gonna be our cliffhanger, our our tie-in to get us into 10.
Right. Yeah. You did. What did you guys think? Did you guys think we were going to see this suit so early in issue 8? What did you think? Did you think it was a glorious come through of the suit, or do you think it was a little anticlimactic? Let us know in the comments below. Hey, if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button below.
There's also that subscribe button down there too. Make sure you punch that. We'd appreciate it. Follow us at Twitter at WhoDooTV, also on Facebook.
Yeah, and we'd like to thank our friends over at OutrightGeekery.com. Be sure to check them out. They got all sorts of nerdy stuff on there.
Links down in the description. Thank you for watching WhoDooTV. We appreciate you guys.